The forest that hunted back. The forest was never silent. Even on the calmest days, the trees made soft breathing sounds, and their long purple leaves shook like they were whispering secrets. The people of Reedridge Village called it the living forest, but everyone knew the truth behind the pretty name. The forest was alive, yes, but it also hunted anything that entered it. And today, a 12-year-old human girl named Lena Marin stepped inside it alone. She held a small woven basket in one hand and a folded cloth map in the other. Her brother, Tio, was sick with a fever that refused to break. The village healer said they needed one thing: white ember leaves, a plant that only grew deep inside the forest. No adult wanted to risk their life to find them. The forest took grown warriors, hunters, even soldiers. No one returned once they crossed the old border stones. But Lena had no choice. Tio's breath grew weaker every hour. So here she was, standing under giant, glowing trees, trying not to shake too hard. A warm wind brushed her cheek. Except it wasn't wind. It was the forest exhaling. The ground vibrated softly with each breath, and the roots under the soil shifted as if adjusting themselves. Lena tried to keep moving. She muttered to herself, "Just get the leaves and go back home. Easy, easy." Her heart did not believe a word of it. A faint growl echoed far above her, like something huge was lying across the tree branches. The sound rolled through the forest canopy, then faded. Lena froze in place. She had heard stories of the creatures living here. Creatures with wings sharp enough to cut stone, teeth that glowed blue from the heat of their breath. Dragon predators, the rulers of the forest. Her mother used to tell her that dragon predators did not just hunt for food, they hunted for sport. They tracked hearts that beat too fast. They sensed fear the way humans sense the smell of smoke. And they loved the taste of anything that ran. So Lena forced herself not to run. She walked slowly, carefully. Her boots sank into soft blue moss that lit up with each step, leaving glowing footprints behind her. Not good, she thought. If something was following her, it could see exactly where she had gone. She swallowed hard and kept moving. After 20 minutes, she spotted the plant she needed. A small cluster of white ember leaves, growing beside a broken stump. Their silver edges shimmered like frost. She felt tears of relief building in her eyes. "Tio, I found them," she whispered. She knelt down, cut 3 leaves, and placed them gently in her basket. Then, a deep rumble rolled through the ground. Lena's hands froze over the basket. Another rumble, closer, heavier. Then the forest fell silent, too silent. Even the breathing trees held their breath. Lena slowly turned around. At first, she saw nothing, only shadows between giant roots. Then she noticed a shape crouched low behind a glowing fern. 2 golden eyes stared at her like suns inside the darkness. A dragon predator. It stepped forward, and the light caught its scales. Its body was long and powerful, covered in dark green plates that overlapped like armor. Smoke curled from its nostrils. Its claws dug into the soil, carving fresh trenches into the moss. Lena felt her knees weaken. She took one small step back. The predator's head tilted. It studied her, not like prey, but like a puzzle. Then it growled, not a loud roar, a painful, irritated growl. Lena saw something she did not expect. The creature was injured. A thick, sharp thorn, longer than her hand, was stuck in its right nostril. Blood trickled around it. Every time the creature breathed, the thorn shook, sending a wave of agony through its body. It lowered its head until it was only a few inches from Lena. The hot breath washed over her face. It smelled like ash and iron. Her body screamed at her to run, but her instincts whispered something strange. This creature is hurting. It is dangerous, yes, but it is also in pain. The predator pushed its snout closer. It wasn't attacking. It was showing her the thorn. Lena stared at it, trembling. "Do you want help?" Her hand shook so much she almost dropped her basket. She whispered, You wanted to pull out?" The predator blinked slowly. Its golden eyes softened. Not friendly, but not hostile. The thorn must be torture. No wonder it growled. No wonder it moved strangely. But if she touched it and messed up, the creature could snap her in half in one bite. Still, something in her chest told her she had to try. She remembered Tio's small, tired smile, his voice whispering, "You're braver than you think, Lena." Maybe she was. She took a slow step forward. The predator huffed. Hot smoke curled past her hair. She reached out her hand. Her fingers hovered over the thorn. The creature didn't move. Lena wrapped both hands around the base of the thorn. It was warm and slippery with dragon blood. 1, 2, 3. She pulled. The predator roared, a sound so loud the trees shook and birds exploded into the sky. Lena stumbled back, falling onto the glowing moss. The torn-out thorn hit the ground beside her. The predator towered over her, smoke rising from its mouth. She squeezed her eyes shut. "This is it. It's going to kill me." The predator exhaled calmly. She opened her eyes. The golden eyes looking down at her were no longer filled with pain. They were filled with something else. Recognition, respect, and something she could not name yet. But she would soon, because the forest had just chosen her. The thorn that changed everything. For a long moment, nothing moved. The forest seemed frozen. Even the glowing moss dimmed, as if afraid to shine too brightly in the presence of the dragon predator standing over the small human girl. Lena sat on the ground, her hands still shaking from pulling out the thorn. The predator's warm breath rolled over her in slow waves. No growl, no roar, no claw raised to strike, just silence. Then the massive creature did something she never expected. It lowered its head, not an attack, but an acknowledgement. Its golden eyes softened, and a low rumble vibrated deep inside its chest, a sound she had never heard before. It wasn't anger. It wasn't a warning. It was relief. Lena let out a trembling breath. She whispered, "You're welcome." The predator blinked slowly, as if trying to understand her voice. Then it stepped back one pace, giving her room to stand. She got to her feet carefully, still unsure whether she should run, freeze, or faint. She didn't get the chance to choose, because the forest suddenly changed. The breathing trees drew in a long, deep inhale that made the branches stretch tight. The air thickened. The ground shook with a much heavier rhythm than before. Lena felt it through her boots. Thump, thump, thump. Not one creature. Several. The predator's head snapped to the left. Its posture changed instantly, from peaceful to alert. Muscles tightened beneath its scales. Its tail lifted slightly off the ground. Smoke streamed from its nostrils again, but not from pain this time. From warning. Lena whispered, "What's happening?" The predator growled, sharp and low. And then she heard it, the distant sound of claws cracking through fallen branches. 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 3 dragon predators. Another pack. Lena's heart froze. The forest had its own rules, and she knew them well from stories. Dragon predators hunted in small packs. They killed anything that entered their territory, and they never allowed outsiders, even injured ones, to form bonds with prey. The creature Lena helped was still weak. The bloody patch around its nostril hadn't stopped leaking. It couldn't fight all 3 predators alone. The forest shadows shifted. 3 pairs of glowing red eyes appeared between twisted tree roots. Bigger, stronger, their scales darker than night. Lena's protector snarled and stepped in front of her, spreading its wings wide to block her from sight. It stood between Lena and its own kind. A creature built to kill was now ready to die to protect a human girl. The first of the approaching predators growled, long and deep. It wasn't a warning, it was a challenge. The second predator crept closer, its thick tail dragging across the moss. The third predator, the largest, tilted its head at Lena. Its eyes narrowed. She felt the weight of its gaze like a hand squeezing her lungs. The leader predator roared, so loud the leaves rained down from the trees. Lena stumbled back, covering her ears. Her protector tensed, its wings pushing her behind its massive body. She wasn't sure what shocked her more, the pack's arrival, or the fact that her wounded predator jumped forward to fight them. The 3 predators charged at once. Her protector lunged into their path. Claws clashed with claws. Teeth snapped. Smoke erupted from their mouths. The forest floor tore open as massive bodies collided. the air filled with the sound of furious growls and the crack of scales hitting bark. Lena backed away, her breath coming in short gasps. She had never seen anything so violent. Her protector was strong, but it was still weak from the injury. Blood spilled from its nostril with every movement. It wouldn't survive this fight. One of the predators slammed into her protector's side. Another bit its leg. The third tried to circle behind it. Toward her, Lena's heart dropped. She stumbled back until her shoulders hit a tree trunk. The largest predator, the leader, stared straight at her. Not at her protector. At her. She knew one thing. The creature could smell her fear. And fear made humans taste better. It took a slow step forward, saliva dripping from its teeth. "Stop," Lena whispered, even though she knew it understood nothing. The predator crouched low, ready to pounce. Suddenly, a roar shook the forest so violently that birds fell from the branches above. Her protector, bloody and breathing hard, slammed its tail into the leader's side. The ground cracked from the force. The leader was thrown into a thick tree trunk, snapping it in half. The impact shook the forest's breathing rhythm, making every leaf tremble. The protector limped toward Lena, nudging her shoulder gently. "Run." That was the message. Lena didn't want to leave it behind, but staying would get them both killed. She whispered, "I'll come back. I promise." Then she turned and ran. Her feet pounded through glowing moss and trembling roots. Branches slapped against her arms. The forest seemed angry now, reacting to the fight. Vines whipped through the air. Shadows twisted. Behind her, she could hear the roars for predators fighting to the death. She didn't look back. She didn't dare. At last, she slid into the hollow of a fallen tree, her breath tearing from her lungs. She curled inside the dark space, trembling, listening. The forest battle raged on. Her protector's roars grew weaker. The other predator's growls grew louder. Lena covered her mouth to stop herself from calling out. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't know if her protector was still alive. But she did know one thing. For the first time in her life, a dragon predator had fought for a human, and the forest would never forget it. The chase through the living forest. The hollow log shook with every roar outside. Lena curled tighter inside the dark space, her fingers gripping the bark so hard her nails cracked. Her breath came fast, and she tried to quiet her trembling, but her whole body felt like it was shaking from the inside out. Outside, the forest battle raged like a storm. She heard claws tearing through soil, wings slamming into trees, and the pained roars of the wounded dragon predator who had protected her. Her protector. That thought alone made her chest ache. Every few seconds, the glowing moss outside flashed as heavy bodies rolled across it. The forest responded with deep groans, shifting its roots as if annoyed by the violence. A violent hiss tore through the air, then a heavy thud. Then silence. Lena pressed a hand to her mouth, afraid to breathe. Were they all dead? Did someone win? Was the leader predator hunting her again? She listened harder. Slow footsteps approached her hiding place. Slow, heavy, uneven, limping. Her protector. She recognized the breathing, rough, painful, but still strong enough to shake the ground softly. The huge shadow of the creature's head blocked the faint light outside the log. A warm snort of air blew into the hollow space, brushing across her face. She crawled out slowly. The predator stood there, bleeding heavily from its side, nostril, and leg. 3 long claw marks ran across its chest. Its wings drooped low, but its golden eyes softened when they met hers. "You're alive," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. The predator blinked slowly, as if saying, "Not for long if we stay here." The forest suddenly growled. Not the predators, not the trees breathing normally. The forest itself. Roots shifted, branches twisted, leaves rustled without wind. The ground pulsed under Lena's boots. Something else was coming. Lena glanced back in horror. The bodies of 2 predators lay motionless between broken roots. The third one, the leader, was gone. Gone. Not dead. Lena's protector jerked its head toward her sharply. It nudged her shoulder hard enough to almost knock her over. "Move." It wanted her to run again. She grabbed her basket with the ember leaves and took off with the predator limping behind her. The forest path ahead glowed faintly, but the trees leaned closer as if trying to block their escape. The air thickened. The roots rose like snakes. The wind turned cold and sharp. The living forest didn't want them to leave. Vines burst from the ground, whipping around Lena's ankles. She tripped, but her protector swung its massive tail, snapping the vines in a single sweep. It growled, baring its teeth at the forest itself. The trees breathed in sharply, angry. Lena stumbled through a narrow gap between two massive trunks. Her protector squeezed through behind her, sparks flicking from its claws as it scraped the bark. That's when she heard it. A roar, far greater, far deeper, far more powerful than any before. The leader predator. It wasn't dead, and it was hunting them. Lena didn't dare look back, but she heard it crashing through the forest, scales grinding against roots, claws smashing branches, breath burning through leaves. The forest groaned under its weight. Her protector limped faster, pushing Lena ahead with its wing. "Don't leave me," Lena gasped, out of breath. The predator growled in response. Not anger, but urgency. It kept nudging her forward. They reached a narrow ravine where the ground split in two, glowing blue light shining from below like liquid fire. Lena jumped. Her feet landed on a thin root bridge stretched across the crack. The root bent under her weight. She hurried across before it snapped. Her protector followed, but the root bent even more, creaking loudly under its enormous size. Lena held out her hands. "Come on, you can make it." The predator pushed off and leaped across. The root snapped in half at the exact moment it landed beside her. It stumbled but caught itself, panting hard. Lena reached for its leg and squeezed gently. "You're okay. You're okay." A thunderous roar exploded behind them. The leader predator appeared on the opposite side of the ravine, its eyes burning red, its jaws dripping smoke. It paced back and forth, looking for a way across. Lena stepped back, but her protector didn't move. It stood tall, despite its wounds, and stared at the leader with a fire in its golden eyes. A challenge. The leader predator roared again, but the gap between the ravine was too wide. It couldn't cross without falling. For now, they were safe. Or so Lena thought. The forest itself chose a side. Roots from the other side began twisting and weaving on their own, forming a new bridge for the leader predator. Lena gasped. "It's helping him." Her protector snarled so loudly the ground shook. It nudged her again, hard, painful, desperate. "Run." This time she didn't argue. She grabbed her basket and sprinted deeper into the glowing trees. Her protector followed behind, limping badly, but still moving faster than she ever could. The forest twisted into a maze. New roots rose. Old ones sank. Vines blocked paths. Glowing insects scattered like sparks. It felt like the entire forest was alive and angry at their escape. Lena's lungs burned. Her legs wobbled. Every breath hurt. Then she saw it. A giant fallen tree, its trunk hollowed out like a tunnel. Her protector nudged her again. "Go inside." Lena crawled into the dark tunnel. The predator stood guard at the entrance, growling at something unseen. The ground trembled again. The leader predator had crossed the ravine. It was coming. Her protector gave one last look at Lena, filled with something she couldn't understand. Something like a promise. They turned to face the approaching attacker. Alone, Lena reached out. "Wait!" But the predator roared and charged toward the darkness of the forest. Lena crawled deeper into the hollow log, tears falling silently. She didn't know who would survive, but she knew one thing. Her protector was no longer just a beast. It was her shield, and the forest had decided it wanted that shield broken. The human village panic. Word spread faster than fire in dry grass. Before the sun even dipped behind the ridge, scouts came running back into Reed's Ridge village with terror on their faces. They shouted so loudly that people dropped tools, spilled water buckets, and rushed out of their homes. "We found tracks, dragon predator tracks, near the southern border." The village stirred like a frightened hornet nest. Farmers grabbed pitchforks, hunters collected spears, and mothers pulled their children inside. The air filled with hurried whispers. Another attack? Is someone lost out there? What angered the beast this time? No one guessed the truth. Not yet. At the healer's hut, the village elder, old Mira, stared at the scout's report with tight lips. She was tall, thin, and walked with a staff made from living wood, silent proof that she knew the forest better than anyone. "Show me," she demanded. The scouts led her to the border stones. Mira knelt down slowly, brushing her fingers across the glowing moss. 3 sets of huge predator tracks, deep and aggressive, and 1 smaller set. Tiny human footprints. Lena's. Myra's blood ran cold. She stood up and shouted, "Bring me Lena's parents." Within minutes, Lena's mother and father arrived, pale as ghosts. "Is she safe?" her mother pleaded. "Did she come back?" Mira shook her head. "Her tracks go into the forest, but they do not return." Lena's father dropped to his knees. Her mother covered her face with both hands. The villagers gathered behind them, whispering anxiously. "She want to get Ember leaves. For her brother." The girl has courage, but not enough to face a dragon. As fear twisted through the crowd, more scouts arrived with worse news. "There's blood on the roots. Fresh. And the forest is moving strangely, like something big is fighting inside." The people gasped. Lena's mother cried out, "The beasts killed her." But Mira didn't answer. She stared at the forest, her eyes narrowing. She could feel the air shaking, the ground breathing too fast, the roots tightening as if afraid. Something unusual was happening inside the forest, something the forest hadn't seen in many years. Mira turned to the hunters. "Prepare traps. If a predator comes out, we must stop it before it reaches the village." The hunters nodded and hurried to get nets, spikes, and old machines designed to restrain large creatures. The village barricades were raised. Torches lit the entrances. Everyone waited. Everyone expected the same thing. A predator dragging Lena's body out of the trees. But Lena was still alive, deep in the forest. Lena hid inside the hollow log, hugging her knees and swallowing her sobs. Her protector's roars echoed through the forest. She heard heavy thuds, snapping branches, and one terrifying scream. The leader's voice filled with rage. She didn't know who was winning. She only knew the fight was not ending. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. Finally, the forest quieted. Too quiet. Lena crawled out of the log, heart racing. The air smelled like smoke and blood. The glowing moss around her was crushed flat from the battle. "Where are you?" she whispered. Then she saw movement. Her protector limped out of the shadows. It was barely standing. 3 deep wounds ran across its side. Blood dripped down its legs. Its wings were torn. Its breathing was shallow and unsteady. But what shocked Lena most, its golden eyes still held fire. And those eyes found her immediately. Lena ran to it without thinking. "You survived. I thought. The predator lowered its head toward her, nudging her chest gently. It had no strength to roar, no strength to stand tall, but it still recognized her, still protected her. Lena placed both hands on the side of its face. "We need to leave before the other predator comes back." Her protector blinked slowly. It wasn't the leader she had to worry about. It was the forest. The trees suddenly inhaled sharply, branches pulling upward like ribs tightening. A low groan vibrated through the ground. The forest did not want them staying. The predator nudged Lena again toward home. It wanted to take her back to the village. Lena's breath caught. "But if we go there, the hunters might kill you." Her protector looked at her with the same eyes it had shown during the fight. Determined, stubborn, unafraid of death. Her safety was more important than its life. Lena shook her head, tears rising again. "No, I won't let them hurt you." The predator growled softly, pushing her toward the path more forcefully. Then the forest roared behind them. The leader predator was alive, and it was coming. Lena's protector swung its injured body in front of her again. Even wounded, even bleeding, it stood between her and danger. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let's go." They moved together through the tightening forest paths, Lena running, her protector limping heavily beside her. The forest roots rose, trying to trap them. Vines whipped at their legs, but they pushed forward. At last, Lena saw it, a faint glow between the trees. Firelight, torches, her village. Her protector tensed, sensing danger from humans just as much as from beasts. Lena swallowed hard. I'll protect you too, I promise. But the instant they stepped near the border, the traps triggered. Nets flew. Spikes snapped open. Hunters shouted, "Dragon Predator, get ready." Her protector moved in front of her instantly, taking the full hit of the net that was meant for Lena. It roared in pain as the weighted ropes tightened around its wounded body. Lena screamed, "Stop! Stop! He saved me." But the village didn't believe her. Not yet, because all they saw was a monster standing beside a child. The air trembled. Hunters raised spears. The elder lifted her staff. Lena rushed between them. "Please, don't hurt him. He's my protector." The villagers froze, shocked. But Myra's eyes widened, not at the predator, at the thorn still lying in Lena's basket. A hunter's illegal trap, placed in the forest. And now Myra finally understood. The predator wasn't the danger. The humans were. The shield roars at the gates. The village torches blazed so brightly that Lena had to shield her eyes. Hunters stood shoulder to shoulder, spears aimed at the wounded dragon predator tangled in their trap. Nets dug into its scales, and heavy iron hooks pulled tighter each time it moved. The creature roared, not in anger, but in agony. Lena threw herself between the spears and the dragon. "Stop," she screamed. "He protected me. You can't hurt him." The hunters froze for a heartbeat. Just one. Then their fear swallowed their hesitation. "Move, girl," the chief hunter shouted. "It'll kill you next." "Step aside," another yelled. "Dragons don't save humans. It's tricking her." The dragon growled weakly, the sound like gravel sliding across stone. Its wings folded tight, its head lowering, but even now it tried to stay between Lena and the hunters. Even trapped, even bleeding, it shielded her. Lena spread her arms wide in front of it. "You're wrong. Someone hurt him first. Look at the wound on his nose. A human trap did this." Myra, the elder, raised her staff. Her sharp eyes inspected the thorn lying in Lena's basket. A thorn carved by human hands. A trap meant to wound. A trap placed illegally in the forest. Myra's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Who placed this?" she demanded. The hunters exchanged nervous glances, but said nothing. The silence told its own story. Someone in the village had angered the predators first. Myra turned to the wounded beast. She lowered her staff slowly, showing respect. "This creature is not at fault. It has shown restraint and mercy." But the chief hunter snapped, "Elder, with respect, that doesn't change what it is." He lifted his spear, only to be interrupted by a violent tremor under everyone's feet. Lena's blood turned cold. The forest was coming. Roots shivered. Leaves rustled. A deep thunder-like sound rolled through the soil. The torches flickered wildly. Myra whispered, "Another dragon is near." Lena backed up instinctively until she was pressed against her protector's side. The dragon lifted its head as much as its wounds allowed. It sniffed the air, snarled weakly, and tried to pull free of the net, but the hooks tore deeper into its flesh. Lena knelt beside it and touched its muzzle. "Don't move, you'll hurt yourself." But it didn't listen. It was trying to stand, trying to protect her again. The hunters panicked just as the ground split open near the forest line. Branches snapped. Tree roots burst upward. Then a roar shattered the air. A massive dragon predator, the leader, bigger than any creature the village had ever seen, burst out from the trees. Its scales glowed like molten stone, and its breath came out in thick black smoke. The villagers screamed. The leader's eyes burned like red suns, and its gaze locked onto the scene. A wounded predator trapped in ropes, humans surrounding it with weapons, and a human girl standing at its side. The leader roared again, a sound filled with fury, grief, and vengeance. It believed the humans had attacked one of its own. The villagers stumbled back. Spears shook. Fear ripped through the crowd like cold wind. Lena grabbed the net with both hands, pulling desperately. No, no, no. He's not attacking us. Please let him go. The leader predator began to charge. Every step shook the earth. Every breath sent sparks across the ground. Every movement promised death. The hunters raised their spears, terrified. This was no normal attack. This was a wrathful beast coming to destroy the village. Lena's protector stirred weakly. It lifted its head and saw the charging leader. And then the impossible happened. Its golden eyes burned with a new fire. It rose to its feet, slowly, painfully, dragging the heavy net behind it. Blood dripped from every wound. Lena gasped. You can't fight again, you'll die. But the predator stepped toward the leader, wobbling, broken, but unafraid. It spread its torn wings slightly, standing tall between Lena and the charging monster. The villagers backed away, staring in disbelief. The wounded predator roared, loud enough to break branches above. It didn't sound like pain anymore. It sounded like a challenge. The leader paused mid-charge. For the first time, its eyes shifted from humans to the wounded protector. Recognition flashed in those burning red eyes. These were from the same pack. The leader roared in confusion. Why was the weaker predator protecting a human? Why did it stand with prey instead of its own kind? The wounded predator roared again, weak but firm. A message, a command, a warning. The leader predator hesitated, then snarled back angrily. The air crackled. The forest groaned. Even the torches bent away from the two dragons, locked in silent war. Everyone held their breath. Lena stepped forward, trembling. Please don't fight again. Please. But the moment she spoke, the leader's eyes flicked to her. Its snarl deepened. Lena's protector moved instantly, placing its body in front of her. Then something unbelievable happened. The leader lowered its head, not to attack, but in confusion. It sniffed Lena from afar, growled lowly at the scent of the illegal thorn, and turned its massive eyes toward the village. The leader knew, understood. Humans had caused the suffering, and now the forest itself wanted justice. The villagers braced for death. But Lena's protector stepped forward, blocking the leader's line of attack with its whole body. It limped between the leader and the village, wings spread wide. It was telling the leader, no, not this human, not our village. The leader roared once more, so loud the ground cracked. But it did not strike. Not yet. It stared at Lena, and something ancient moved behind its eyes. Something dangerous. Something calculating. Then the air went still. Everyone waited, because whatever happened next would change the fate of humans and dragons forever. The hunter's truth. The air shook as the leader predator growled, low and murderous. The earth itself seemed to lean away from the sound. Villagers stood frozen, clutching weapons that suddenly felt useless. The wounded protector dragged the heavy net another inch forward, trying again to place its broken body between Lena and the raging leader. Mira, the elder, stepped closer to Lena. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with understanding. This is not a normal beast's rage, she whispered. This is an accusation. Lena clutched the basket with the thorn. He was hurt because of us. The leader predator's eyes locked onto the thorn in her hand. And that was the moment everything changed. The leader roared, a deep, wounded sound that shook the torches. It wasn't attacking, it was mourning, furious, grieving. Hunters whispered behind Lena. What does it want? Why is it crying? Send a spear before it charges. But before anyone could throw anything, Mira lifted her staff and slammed it into the dirt. Stop. No one throws a single weapon. Her voice echoed across the entire village. The chief hunter snapped. Elder, that thing will destroy us. Myra's eyes narrowed, and we gave it the reason. She picked up the thorn from Lena's basket. The carved ridges, the metal tip, the poison coating, everything told the same story. It was crafted here, Mira said loudly. In this village. A thick silence fell over the crowd, a silence filled with guilt. The chief hunter's face turned red. We only used traps along the far border. They weren't meant to harm, only scare the beasts away. Mira glared sharply. This is no scare trap. This is illegal. Forbidden. You hurt a predator in its own territory. The leader predator growled deeply, jaws dripping smoke. Who made it? Mira demanded. No one answered. But the leader didn't need a confession. It already knew. It paced forward, just one giant step, and the villagers stumbled back. Its wings flared. Its chest puffed. Its claws dug deep grooves into the dirt. The message was clear. You hurt one of mine. You broke the forest law, and now the forest demands repayment. The protector predator lifted its head weakly and roared back, not in challenge, but in plea. A plea Lena understood. It didn't want bloodshed. It didn't want the village destroyed. It wanted the truth to be heard. The leader's eyes flicked to Lena. They softened just slightly. Humans rarely touched dragons. Humans never saved dragons. Humans never stood between dragons and danger. Yet here was a tiny girl, shaking but unbroken, protecting a creature 3 times her size. Something ancient moved behind the leader's gaze. Recognition, confusion, something close to respect, but not forgiveness. Not yet. Mira slowly approached the wounded predator, ignoring the gasps behind her. She studied its deep cuts, the torn wings, the leaking blood. This creature, she said loudly to the village, risked its life to protect one of our children. It saved her from its own kind. It shielded her from the forest. And we, her voice hardened, we answered it with a trap. Shame rippled through the crowd. Some villagers lowered their heads. Some looked away. Some whispered prayers. Lena stepped forward. He's not a monster. She placed her small hand on the predator's cheek. The dragon leaned into her touch gently, an act no human had ever seen. The leader predator tilted its head, watching closely. Then the forest trembled again. Something enormous was approaching. Trees leaned aside, roots untangled. Fireflies scattered in glowing waves. Mira inhaled sharply. No, not now. From deep within the forest, a roar boomed, different from the leader's voice. Older, heavier, stronger. A roar that felt like thunder clawing its way out of the earth. Lena felt the sound in her bones. The leader predator stiffened instantly, tail flicking with alarm. The wounded protector whimpered softly and lowered itself, injured body trembling. Mira whispered, "That's the Alpha." The villagers gasped. Alpha, the first bloodline, the ruler of the predators? Mira nodded slowly. Where the Alpha goes, the forest bends. Branches cracked as a massive shadow appeared between 2 giant glowing trees. The Alpha predator stepped into view. It was huge, taller than a house, wings stretching wide enough to darken half the village. Its scales were black and silver, like frost-covered stone. Its eyes glowed with an ancient blue fire that made the air ripple. The Alpha inspected the scene. A wounded predator, a furious leader, a small human girl protecting them, and a village full of frightened humans. The Alpha's breath came out cold, freezing the grass at its feet. It spoke, not in human words, but in a sound so deep it made every torch flicker. The leader predator responded with a roar that explained everything. A human trap, a wounded pack member, a girl who defied nature itself to save one of them. The Alpha turned its glowing eyes on Lena, and for 3 terrifying seconds, no one breathed. Lena felt the world shrink beneath those ancient eyes. She felt judged, measured, seen. Then the monster lowered its head until its icy breath brushed her cheek. Lena trembled. Villagers screamed. Hunters raised weapons. The protector predator roared desperately and tried to stand again. But the Alpha lifted one claw, not to kill, to silence everyone. And then, slowly, the Alpha gently touched the protector's wound with its nose. A sound like soft thunder rolled from its chest, a deep, ancient sound of mourning and respect. The Alpha acknowledged Lena's protector as one of its own. Alive, brave, worthy. But then the Alpha turned to the village. Its eyes burned brighter. The message was clear. Someone here has broken the forest law. Someone here will answer for it, or the forest will take everything. The ground shook. The torches went out, and the Alpha opened its jaws, ready to judge the village. The shield becomes her legend. The alpha predator towered over the entire village like a living mountain. Its wings stretched wide, shaking dust from rooftops. Its cold breath froze the dirt beneath its claws. Its glowing blue eyes scanned every villager with a judgment older than human memory. No one dared to move. No one dared to breathe. This was the ruler of the forest, the first predator bloodline, the creature that even the trees obeyed. And now, it stood only feet away from a terrified human village. The wounded protector lay trapped in the net, still positioned in front of Lena, as if its body alone could stop the alpha's wrath. Lena touched its snout gently. "I'm here. I'm not leaving." The protector blinked weakly, its golden eyes flickering with pain and stubborn fire. Mira stepped forward, voice trembling but steady enough to earn silence. "Great Alpha," she said, bowing her head. "We wronged your kin. We accept this. But the child, she did not harm your kind. She saved one." The Alpha's gaze snapped to Lena. The entire crowd flinched. The giant predator's eyes narrowed as it lowered its head until Lena could see her own reflection in its icy pupils. Small, fragile, trembling, yet unbroken. The Alpha inhaled deeply, scenting the air around the girl. It smelled the thorn's poison. It smelled the protector's blood on her clothes. It smelled her fear. It smelled her courage. The Alpha stepped closer. One massive claw was all it needed to end her life. Villagers shouted, "Lena, run! Get back! Please, please move!" But Lena didn't move. She stood there with her small hands shaking, yet held high. "Please," she whispered, "don't hurt them. Don't hurt us. Someone in the village did wrong, but not all of us." The Alpha's breath blew back her hair like a storm wind. Its head tilted, confused. Humans usually ran. Humans usually screamed. Humans never protected dragons. Lena swallowed hard. "He protected me first. He didn't have to, but he did." The Alpha blinked. Then the leader predator, still behind the Alpha, stepped forward and roared softly, explaining everything in the language of dragons. "The girl saved one of ours. She touched his wound. She stood in front of humans to protect him. She defied the forest to shield him." The Alpha listened, slowly, patiently. Its glowing blue eyes returned to Lena. It lowered its head again, and then it touched its cold snout gently to the top of her forehead. The village gasped. Mira staggered backward in shock. Even the leader predator froze. This was a dragon mark, a gesture even adult dragons rarely received. The Alpha was acknowledging Lena, accepting Lena, claiming Lena. But the moment was shattered when a hunter, one filled with fear, lost control. He screamed and threw a spear. "No, don't touch her." The spear flew straight toward the Alpha's throat. Everything happened at once. The villagers shouted in horror. Mira screamed the hunter's name. The Alpha's eyes flared with deadly light, and the protector acted. Even half dead, the wounded predator surged up with a roar so powerful it cracked the ground. It jumped between the spear and the Alpha. The spear struck deep into the protector's already wounded chest. The creature collapsed forward, barely catching itself before its head hit the earth. "No!" Lena cried, running to it. Blood poured from the new wound. Its breaths came ragged and thin. Its wings trembled. The leader predator roared in fury and lunged forward, ready to tear the hunter apart. But the Alpha stopped it with one raised claw. The Alpha's chest rumbled with a sound that made the air vibrate. A sound like thunder, mixed with sorrow. It stepped toward the dying protector. The protector raised its head weakly. Golden eyes met blue. The protector was not afraid. It had chosen this path. It had chosen Lena. The Alpha lowered its huge head until its nose touched the protector's forehead. A final blessing. A goodbye of its kind. The village fell silent. Even the forest paused in its breathing. Lena knelt beside her protector, tears streaming. Her small hand rested on its cheek. "Please, please stay with me," she whispered. The predator blinked slowly. Once. Twice. It nudged her hand weakly. Its eyes softened, glowing like dimming suns. It wasn't afraid. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even in pain anymore. It had fulfilled its promise. It had become her shield. With one final breath, it lay its head gently in her lap. The golden eyes slowly closed. Lena sobbed into its scales. The alpha watched silently. Then, something changed. The forest rippled. The glowing moss brightened. The wind bent around the alpha. The leader predator bowed its head. Every predator in the forest seemed to understand the moment. The alpha stepped closer to Lena. It lowered its giant wing. And for the first time in its ancient life, it offered shelter. Lena looked up, face streaked with tears. The alpha nudged her gently toward its wing, as if saying, "You are not alone. He chose you. Now we accept you." The villagers watched in stunned silence as the alpha tapped its claw against the ground. A symbol, a pact, a promise. Then the alpha roared, a roar that shook the world. Not of war, not of destruction, but of recognition. The forest answered with rustling leaves. The wind answered with a rising whistle. Even the earth seemed to echo it. The alpha looked at Lena one more time, and with a slow, powerful motion, it spread its wings and stepped back into the glowing forest. The leader predator followed, then the others. Within moments, the forest swallowed them whole, leaving the village trembling in shock. Mira placed her hand on Lena's shoulder. "Child, do you understand what happened?" Lena wiped her tears, voice shaking. I think so." Mira nodded. "The dragon didn't just protect you. He gave you his place." Lena looked toward the forest. Her protector's body still lay silent at her feet. "He was my shield," she whispered. "And now," Mira said softly, "the forest knows your name.